Hola, buenos dias, good morning. Welcome to day 3 of ETHBarcelona. And now I'm pleased to announce that we will finally have long-awaited panel about Web3 and what it means for music. I would like to welcome to the stage Haitham Mengad, Guy Pirelli, Austin Worrel, and our wonderful moderator, Samuel Dereal from Nvak Collective and DoinGud. Enjoy.
Good morning. How are you guys doing? Barcelona, last day. 3 days of incredible speakers, people from all over the world, brilliant minds coming together to do something quite special here in Barcelona for Spain's first ETH conference. Today we're going to be talking a lot about music and what that really means for Web3. My name is Samuel Del Real. I've been in the music industry all of my life, since I've been 3 years old. My father comes from Barranquilla, Colombia, Latin jazz pianist. I grew up playing music. I was signed to Atlantic Records, touring for many, many, many years, still doing music today. Currently an advisor, an investor into Nvak Collective. Nvak Collective is a Web3 music record label that is effectively trying to change the way that music is consumed. Today I have 3 incredible gentlemen that have also been actively working, participating, engaging, and building in the Web3 space. There's a lot to learn with what it means for music because, I mean, music has effectively changed over the course of time so many different ways, from hitting rocks and sticks and trying to make music as Neanderthals and cavemen to having the ability to be able to listen to music in a way with your headphones and then be able to consume it via your cell phone and be able to watch music videos. And you know, in 2008, music really made a huge shift with streaming. And it's allotted, I think, a lot of opportunities for artists to be able to be seen and be heard. Fast forward to today, 2022, you've got over 60,000 songs being uploaded on Spotify every single day. It's a tremendous amount of music that's being uploaded every day and very difficult to be seen. What does that really mean? That means you have to have a lot of money, marketing power. You need to be really good at social media. What does that actually mean? That also means that the artists are no longer really focused on their art. They have so many different avenues and vehicles to try and push themselves out there and let everybody hear and see what they're doing. So I think today what we really want to talk about and give these gentlemen an opportunity to kind of speak on is, first of all, who they are, what they're doing in music, and really what it all means for them and what excites them. So please give it a round of applause for these 3 gentlemen, Mr. Guy Pirelli, Haitham, Mr. Austin. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, let everybody know who you are, what you're up to. We'll start with Guy.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Guy Pirelli. I'm the founder of Shrine House, which is a decentralized record label and artist tooling suite. We're just working on tools to essentially connect producers and artists and give them alternative modes of support. We kind of like take the models of like how a record label operates and then deconstruct them into like their most bare essence, and then offer that as tools to independent artists and producers. A big thing, in my opinion, that makes music so special is collaboration, and I think that that's very much the same way in like Web3. So we keep that in mind when designing a lot of our products. So to really like inspire people to work in parallel past like the point of transaction to really cultivate meaningful relationships.
Hey guys, my name is Haitham. I'm one of the co-founders of StemsDAO. We're basically a community and platform that lets artists drop samples, stems, and snippets as NFT collections. And then we incentivize our community and artists in general to make music using those collections of NFTs. To go off what Guy was just saying, you know, there's 2 aspects of what we're building. One part of it is the platform that is ours, but we're also building a protocol that is supposed to be unopinionated about just decentralized collaborative creativity. And we're trying to design it in a way that you know, you can interact with it without necessarily having StemsDAO benefits. So I think, yeah, collaboration being at the core of what we do is very much true.
Austin.
I'm Austin. I feel a little like an outsider on the stage here a bit, but I also grew up like Samuel, wanting to get into the music space. The highest I ever got, though, was a local town singing contest in grade 8, so that's about as far as I went. But fell in love with this idea that art really has the power to change the world, but fell out of it when I decided to pursue a legal career, which gave me a new perspective in that there is so much power and strength in the law to protect the rights of creatives, and yet the systems that we have in place are not built to do that necessarily. And so I'm really excited to be building a music adjacent platform, which is in the film and television space. It's a film finance platform that protects the rights of creatives and gives fans a front row seat to the whole filmmaking process from the minute the script is made to the minute it gets put on the screen. So that would be KINO, which is the project that I'm working on with my co-founder, Daryl, who's here today.
Hey, welcome. Thank you, guys. Well, actually, I want to talk about the legal aspects first, because obviously there's a lot that most people don't really fully understand with the music industry. It's quite opaque. Actually, being in it all my life, I still don't know how I get paid with music, if I get paid with music, and any of this. And to be honest, contracts are ridiculously long. They are like 80, 90, 10, 100 pages of nonsense, and it's not helping any artist understand what's going on in the music industry. So talk to us a little bit about what you've learned in the legal space with music, what you're seeing with regards to Web3 and how legal contracts can then be simplified, really, and a little bit more transparent. Let's talk a little bit about that.
You know, it's ironic. Contracts is a class every young lawyer takes in their first year of law school, and the first thing your professor teaches you is contracts should be simple. If you can make them one page, try to. And yet then you get sucked into the big law machine and they turn into 100 pages, well, because they bill by the hour, right? So they have to be longer. And so ironically, what was meant to be a very simple confirmation, it was meant to be a trust protocol, a word that we all, or a phrase that we all know very well. You know, back when we were pre-internet, back when we were pre-telegraph, back when we were pre-printing press, contracts were meant to be a confirmation of a transaction, and yet they've gotten so complicated. What I'm excited about in the Web3 space is blockchain at its core is smart contracts. It is the new trust protocol. It gives us the ability to cut out so many of the intermediaries and to level the playing field. I think what breaks my heart in both the music space and the film space, where I've seen a lot of this, is there's so much leverage and power in the hands of studios, in the hands of large labels, in the hands of those that have all the financial power from the previous century. And yet what we can see in Web3 is decentralization gives power back in the hands of the artists. But what we need is robust blockchain technology that does enshrine the rights of creatives. And that's why I'm really excited to see more and more lawyers getting into the space and understanding that this isn't just about, memes and tokens, even though my last project was a meme project and I love it, so I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, the technology is valid to ensure that our economics are done better. Because what we believe at KINO, and I think we'd all agree, is that artists who are empowered, artists whose rights are protected, make better art, and that's just right,
True. I mean, honestly, when you know that you're protected, when you know that you all have to worry about is making the art and being really fucking good at making that art, that's where real magic happens, right? Guy, tell us a little bit about Shrine House and what you guys have been doing, how you're effectively kind of approaching the music industry, and what products are you guys bringing to the table?
Yeah, for sure. We've been focusing primarily on producers, because I feel like that's like a class of creative and artists that hasn't necessarily been focused on so much in the Web3 space, so there's just like a lot of opportunity there. So what we're building is a beat marketplace where producers can list their catalog and artists can interface with it. What makes it particularly interesting, and I'm really eager to have some more conversations with you about this, is essentially we're allowing producers to dictate like the terms of their publishing split, and then forcing both parties to sign an agreement via smart contracts, which we then take and put inside of an NFT. So it's like making that whole process much more efficient, but then whoever is the custodian of that NFT can then turn around and sell that NFT to raise money for like whatever they're working on at the time. So that's like the product that we're currently working on, but we do have quite a few different tools that we're interested in introducing in the future, but that's what we're working on right now.
And Haitham, I mean, with StemsDAO and what he's kind of talking about right now, it kind of goes a little bit hand in hand. And if you don't mind kind of giving everybody some insight as to what that really means with regards to stems. Most of you guys may or may not know how music is made. And you know, with music, there's Ableton, there's Pro Tools, there's Logic, there's GarageBand, there's Cubase, there's all these different tool sets and programs that are utilizing ways for people to be able to construct songs, whether that be, you know, many layers of guitars, many layers of drums, many layers of bass, many layers of vocals. StemsDAO, what is that?
Yeah, thanks for I forget that people don't necessarily know, but yeah, stems, samples, and snippets are sound bites, basically. So a song is broken down into pieces, like as Sammy was saying, like vocal, drum, guitar, and each piece is an NFT, so that when it's reused in a song, we can trace back the ownership and kind of reward people along the way. And then to bring it back to the legal aspect, which we found has been the most like painful thing to actually execute on, with a lot of people that have many ideas, and even to frame this outside of just the context of StemsDAO, there's there's many Telegram groups for Web3 music standards with all the big projects that are kind of have gained a little bit of steam in the space now, and a lot of the people that are active, unfortunately, tend to be consultants that are not in one of the projects, because if you're in one of the projects, you have a very opinionated preference on which kind of route you want to go to. And so there's like two major schools of thought in music, and I would say even in entertainment and creativity in general. Is like, one is CC0, which means like you just release stuff and it's free to use.
It's public good.
Yeah, public good, exactly. And then the other one is you have like licenses and rights, like publishing, recording rights, etc. And so the way we've tried to accommodate the two is to think about it pragmatically. So if you want to think about, like, CC0 theoretically is great, it's amazing, but if you're an artist that lives off of their music, lives off of their art, you want to capture some of the upside of something doing well. And so, you know, who are we as a project, like empowering artists to be like, yeah, you have to make your stuff as a public good. So the way what we're building is infrastructure for people to be able to like basically tune the percentage of rights that they give away. And CC0 is just 0%. It's like basically 100%, sorry. And so, you know, it's like instead of like being super opinionated one way or the other, just give people more of an option. And we're trying to also make it kind of plug and play. So the contract we're working on is about 18 pages long. It's as short as we could do. And trust me, we've been trying. And then, you know, because it's so short, it actually ends up being not super useful in some countries. So there's also the country part of this, where like each country has their own institutions, like the US has ASCAP, you know, BMI, etc. But yeah, I think it's the least exciting part to talk about, but it's also the one that I think has a chokehold on the music industry and just like draining it from actually accomplishing its potential.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of the non-sexy things about, you know, the world that we reside in, Web3 and NFTs actually have the most promise in, you know, rights management, publishing, royalties, deeds, titles for homes, I mean, all sorts of really cool things. And, you know, it's not about the PFP and it's not about, you know, all the memes, even though they are a lot of fun. But, you know, you talked about a couple of things with regards to stems and getting back to the artist and making sure the artist is getting taken care of. Why does that matter so much? Like, what's going on in music that artists are getting, I guess, neglected from those royalties? What is the lack of transparency? Why do you think Web3 is actually going to help this? Guy?
Yeah, I think, for one, obviously, just like transparency. So like having like a very like clear line of like who's in control of what. But also like a big thing for us is being able to add multiple collaborators to our NFTs. So in like the music industry, like, yeah, you have your producer who might have you know, like the majority share, but like he could be working with like a songwriter who like helped him come up with a song, or he could be working with a loop maker, right? And so like, what does that split look like? And it's not just as like simple as like just like 1, 2, 3 or whatever. Like they each have like kind of their own like way of being divided between that. But I think that the technology that we're seeing and that we're creating like just really helps elucidate all of that and make it a really like clear and seamless process.
And Austin, I'm sure you have plenty to talk about with this. I mean, you're seeing a lot of this. We're talking a little bit about Worrel and what they're up to, and there's some people that you work with that are representing those guys. If you don't mind talking a little bit about how all of this has just kind of come into play in your world.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll give a quick shout out to Royal.io. They're doing an incredible job in the space. One of my friends, Nick Pullman, is the head of legal there. Also, big shout out to my friends at Fenwick & West, which is probably the #1 law firm in crypto right now that is playing a huge role in facilitating and empowering all of us as builders to accomplish our missions of creating this better world that we dream for. You know, you guys bring up lots of thoughts, and I'm thinking back to, you know, a lot of things I've learned from school, and it's interesting how we have these legal systems that are built that most of us don't even realize. And I think we talk about how Web3, you know, even the memes and everything, it makes everything more approachable. What I'm excited about is if you think about copyrights, and this is where we get complicated, like you were saying, the contracts. The United States is a first-to-use system. You could put that copyright symbol on anything you create, right? But then you have this sort of issue of what is original expression is what it comes down to if you were ever to sue somebody and get into litigation. Original expression can be difficult in litigation to prove if, for example, you were here in Barcelona and I was back in LA and we both created the same 4 chords, or hey, let's talk about 4 chords, right, that are underlying lots of musical pieces. And so at the end of the day, while we have this complex legal system set up that's supposed to protect rights, it's extremely unapproachable. And when's the last time anybody went onto their government's database and checked the copyright, right? Like the website probably looks like it was built in 1995, or if you're in the US, it definitely was. So I think what's amazing about Web3 is the ledger aspect is providing that amazing pathway to prove, okay, where did ownership originate? What was the pathway? What was, you know, the royalties through the financial aspect, or where were the permissions through the other artists that used it? And I think that's a beautiful thing because it allows all of us to take a deep breath and go, yeah, I can succeed in this space, right? And like you said, it allows the artist to focus on their art because they're not trying to hop on their call with their lawyer every single day, right? I mean, I promised my friends in law school that we'll still exist in the future, but between all of us, maybe we won't, if blockchain can actually facilitate what we say it will. But then, you know, we get down to more complex issues of, like I said, the leverage and power that these giant studios have because they have all the financial resources, because they have the sophistication with their legal teams to understand the complex systems, and then again, that puts the artists in the position to give up more of their ownership, to give up more of their rights, and to frankly give up more of their creativity because they don't feel like they're in a position to negotiate. It really comes down to that aspect of it, you know. So I'm excited about so many different projects: Royal.io, Sound.xyz, what you both are building, you know, what we're building at KINO in the film and TV space, and of course musicians in film and TV, just as, you know, crucially need to be protected. You know, composers was actually just at a premiere with our team on Sunday. And the music is what made the movie, you know. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if that composer had a single piece of ownership. Royalty's not technically the right word in the film space, but we can use it, you know, back end is what we call it. I'm not sure if he ever saw any sort of profit from his work that made the entire movie such an epic masterpiece, you know.
You bring up a point that is fairly interesting. You know, when creating music, guys, and again, I don't know how much you may or may not know, but when creating music, there's several people in the room. There may be 1 or 2 people, or it might be just a one-man band or one-lady band, and they're just in there writing, recording, producing the records on their computer, single, playing drums, whatever, recording, looping. But let's say in the case that there are several people in the room, the 4 of us, and we're gonna go ahead and record a song. Let's say Austin's the producer and us 3 are the songwriters. What happens right now in the music industry with regards to that? Maybe you guys can speak a little bit about that and how royalty splits or publishing rights are working. If you don't mind, go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know if people are familiar with the typical process with labels. Is you get a cash advance essentially to work on your album, and then you're supposed to pay back the cash advance that you after making the album, and then you're also giving away most of the rights of the album. So it's just a losing, it's like a lose-lose-lose thing for the artist. And then in the case of this particular scenario, on top of that, I bet one of the songwriters is just like the friend of someone and not even getting in there, but like actually contributing a lot. So we've been seeing a lot of these people that have like made music with like huge names, but are like nobodies in the American term, and then they're now like making it big in Web3 because they have the talent and like the music speaks for itself. So yeah, I think there's an opportunity with the fact that things are digital, and then specifically with NFTs, because you can like have multiple, you can have a split address, multiple owners of an NFT, to kind of make sure everybody gets rewarded properly. And then like specifically one of the ways we used to pitch StemsDAO was like decentralizing the studio. So a lot of people make music together in a decentralized way outside of blockchain. Like Discord servers with sample packs that get traded, subreddits where people find other people to make music with, etc. So that already exists. NFTs and like blockchain just adds this traceability and like kind of a way to route back rewards to each party involved. So I think this is the perfect example. Like the situation you're describing is specifically what we can make better with Web3, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's collaboration. We're here in Barcelona. Most of us maybe don't live here. We're trying to collaborate with one another. We're trying to create a better future for humanity in some way or another, whether that be because we're trying to create more sustainable ways to be able to participate in this world, or that be with technology. And obviously with technology, that has been a huge, huge arbiter of the advancement of music and how it's consumed. A lot of the things with music and where I believe this Web3 space and NFTs and blockchain and cryptocurrencies become super, super exciting is because then this becomes also an extension of the artwork. Not just for me, the artist, or for them, the artist, for you guys, the artists or creators, but for the labels as well, right? And how does that really correlate? I mean, well, first of all, as Haitham just mentioned, record labels very much so are fronting a lot of money, a lot of capital to artists. Sometimes, let's say these guys have a couple 100 million streams or monthly listeners on Spotify. Cool, I'm gonna sign you, I'm gonna pay you $1 million. That $1 million is non-recoupable, it's gonna be recoupable for at least 5 years, let's say. And then maybe you'll start making 20% of that money, maybe, if you get those streams. And let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you've gone ahead and gotten 1 million streams. You're maybe gonna get $5,000 from that 1 million streams. You're getting paid 0.005 cents per stream on Spotify to enable some sort of income to you. And then you, the artist, have to pay the producer, the songwriter, management, legal.
Engineers.
You're talking about $5,000 out of 1 million streams. Music has become so passive. Content in general has become so passive. You can have a couple million monthly listeners and you can't fill a 500 cap room in one of the major cities in America. That's a problem. So you're not getting paid, you're not gaining fans, and you can't fill a room. Why are we doing this then? So I think that Web3 definitely enables a way for an artist or a creator to be able to have 100 fans, 50 fans, 50 collectors that they're gonna be able to actually sustain and worry about making music or worry about making art.
I mean, I was going to hop in and say, it makes me think back to, 20 years ago, right? Before the Apples of the world, the Spotifys of the world, before the big streamers who came in and said, hey, fans, you're going to have a better experience. You can listen to anything at all times. And all the fans were like, yay, I get to listen to my favorite artist, without actually realizing, and most don't today, that it's actually hurting the very artists that they want to listen to, because it just lopsided the model. And all these tech companies came in and frankly took advantage of artists. And so like you said, I mean, again, it breaks my heart to see that artists have to focus on selling big corporations' products so they can make some money instead of focusing on just showing their art to the world. And I think what Web3 is enabling is us to step back in time while also stepping forward to a place where you know, we used to buy CDs or we used to buy records. There was an actual transfer that was more fair and direct to artists. Now, it hasn't always been that way. It wasn't perfect. And there's a better ideal that we can work towards. You know, but at the end of the day, or you went to your local pub and you paid to go see somebody perform, right? Instead of just happening to see it on YouTube and hopefully there was an ad on there to support that artist, right? And so I think that what we're seeing is such a centralization in the studios, in big corporations, and at the end of the day, it's hurting the very artists who should be focusing their time on doing what they love the most, you know? And I think that what I'm most excited about is if all four of us were in a room and we decided that we wanted to make, you know, a piece of music together, our first thought wouldn't be, well, shoot, we better call our lawyers, you know, or shoot, we better call the studio, you know, because we need some money to get this done, right? Our first thought should be, what the hell are we going to create together, and how amazing is it going to be? You know, that should be the thought in our minds. And I think that world is so attainable with the right technology, and we are on the cusp of it. We are in the very early stages of it. And as someone, you know, I know very few lawyers who are very excited about Web3. And so it's going to take a whole lot of work and probably 10 more years to get people. So if you love Web3 and you're thinking about law school, please go. We need more people who understand laws of various countries, you know, to be able to get into the industries and make a change, because all of us should be able and should have the opportunity to express ourselves in a manner that doesn't feel like we're fighting against the man at every single step.
Yeah, you know, that brings us something that's really interesting to the table. We are all creators. Every single person that's in this room is a creator. When you're able to set your soul on fire and lead by passion and allow for that to be what is the implication of money, it's like a moth to a flame. And I think some of the things that we're lacking today in music is what music used to be like. You know, so many of us probably grew up with like classic rock or classical music or whatever. That kind of music was new technology for all of us at that time. The Beatles were a new form of technology because they learned something from previous times. Now we have this actual technology that enables, again, some form of creativity that probably we haven't had before since maybe we were kids. You know, we're able to dream, again, a little bit differently. We're able to kind of construct things and try to, I guess, wonder what it would be like to have a life where that is the focus, the art. So talk a little bit more, Haitham, about with StemsDAO, what kind of collaboration, and both of you guys can actually speak to this, what kind of collaboration does enabling everybody to be able to trade different stems and different sounds for music, what does that mean?
Yeah, one thing I want to loop back to the very beginning of the talk when you said, started with sticks and stones, and I think that's very interesting because we tend to forget what music means. It's just like air vibrating in a way that sounds good. So like someone's voice may sound good to somebody else, silence may sound great to somebody else. And so as we've been building this project, I really have been thinking a lot about what good music means, or like what music means. And it's just such a broad term in general that you can, you know, it's like, it's bigger than life what music is. So I just want to frame it that way, first of all. And then in terms of like what we've been doing to allow people to collaborate and take this process, which historically, like throughout history, human societies have gone together and done rituals like, you know, gospel, theater, like, you know, stuff that dates back to ancient Greece, and even there's like bone flutes that are like thousands of years old. So people have been doing this stuff forever. Like right now, we're just making it to an industry, and like we're trying to streamline it, etc. So I think, you know, what we're trying to do, the philosophy that we have, is to try to get out of the way as much as possible. So a lot of projects are trying to build specific tools that compete with Ableton, or, you know, that are going to allow you to make like stems in a certain way or whatever. We're trying to allow you to find stems from someone that you like, and then use them however way you want to make music. And so, you know, very concrete examples, the last game we did was with an artist named Poolside.
Great.
Yeah, I like his music too. And so it's like a, you know, new disco style, and we basically gave the community an opportunity to make music with the stems of Poolside, which, by the way, were released, like the song was also released as an NFT with another project, showing they're like very collaborative, but it was released as the full song. And then he also released the stems in our Discord, and they'll be sold as NFTs. And then the song is also on Spotify, so that and like owning the stems of that song gives you some kind of like tie back to that initial song and to all the songs that are going to be made using those stems. Almost done. And so the prize was whoever, you take the stems, make a remix, and it was a song without vocals. One of my co-founders was here. Andros actually made a song with vocals with those stems, and then we got a lot of submissions. And then the person that won was an artist named Whitecliffs, who had been making the transition from electro house to disco. And he literally told me, he was on the phone, this happened so quickly. I'm about to. So the winning prize was that the winner can open for Poolside at a StemsDAO party. And this was at NFT NYC 2 weeks ago. And literally he told me, he was like, I haven't even had time to tell my manager about this because we needed to confirm him to play. And then he said, but if my manager doesn't agree with me opening for Poolside, given that this is literally the type of music I would be playing anyway in my sets, then maybe it's not the right person for me. So I'm trying to be nice with my words. But yeah, so I just thought it really shows that when you get out of the way and you give people the
freedom,
access, freedom and access to other people that may want to also kind of stimulate communities and fans, magic can happen. And that's kind of the core philosophy that we have.
I think there's been a lot of magic happening these last 3 days. I mean, again, we have some of the most brilliant minds in the planet here these last 3 days, creating effectively some really special stuff for the future of our humanity. And music, to me, I'm biased. I've been in music all my life, and it's in my blood. But music transmits every facet of every culture in every world. I'm saying every world because I'm building a world, you're building a world, you guys are all building worlds. They're different universes, but they're all going to still come together at some point. And music does unify people in a really special way. I think that why I was going to stop you a little bit about the music thing is because, or where things live with regards to Web3 is because people don't also understand that if you're going to do something or drop a track or an NFT, audio NFT as music audio, you can still live on Spotify. You can still live on the DSPs. Maybe, Guy, continue please talking a little bit about the stems and also what you guys are doing with Shrine, because it's very complementary. But then also I would love for Austin kind of talk a little bit about how those two worlds, the DSPs and Web3, end up working.
So with DSPs and streaming services, a lot of it, the product is just very focused on the consumer, right? So it's really a lot more about the person who's listening to it and making that as easy and keeping you on the platform for as long as possible, because that's how the DSPs are primarily making their money. But with Web3, obviously, we're really trying to, shift that focus and allow, well, for one, change the relationship between the audience member, with the artist or producer, right? So giving them an engaging role in a community. So for us, we're a decentralized record label, we operate as a DAO. What that means is that, people from our community can suggest an artist, or even themselves, if they've been a contributor within our community for quite some time, they can be hey, I have these 12 songs as a demo, I'm really interested in recording this. I'd really maybe 25K, just to cover studio costs, and then maybe we'll talk about marketing later, So just that kind of relationship, where you're essentially giving just giving people people but then on the other side of that as well, giving people the opportunity to buy NFTs as audience members, I do think kind of harkens back to the days where you were going to the shops and actually crate digging, for deep cuts that nobody else knows about, and I think that's a lot of the excitement that we see within the Web3 space from community members.
DSPs.
I mean, I think the question comes down to one word, which is adoption. you know? At the end of the day, we all have a beautiful vision for the future that not everybody sees yet. And I think that actually there's a responsibility on all of us to do a better job. You know, the joke I make all the time is I don't really ask what programming language Twitter's built on, I just use it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask what your tech is built off of, but my point is that to a lot of people out there who are in high positions of power, when we start throwing around DeFi terms or even just NFT itself, they shut off and they stop listening. And I have found such friction with people, especially in the legal space, to try to convince them that just automating law is not a bad thing and it's good for people and it's good for humanity, right? And so I think that when you're talking about those relationships between these more Web 2, if you will, providers who are operating on a model that works really well for them and our new future, we need to find that way to bridge, which is something that I'm really excited that we're doing at KINO. My buddies at Worrel are also doing this, particularly in the music industry, where right now in the metadata of smart contracts, you need to drop a link to a real legal contract. I was just putting together ours for our founding member pass that's available on our site. It's not a pitch, it's just literally what I was doing yesterday. And you drop the link to a real contract because then when you go to that provider, you have a real legal pathway to trace. But then what's really cool in the court system, we're already seeing cases develop where when there's litigation about rights, we've looked to blockchain as evidence. Lawyers have started arguing, saying, hey, this is the pathway, here's where it is. It hasn't happened very much, but I'm really excited to see that happen more. But I think the way that we describe it, and each of our different roles, whether we're the artists, whether we're the producers, whether we're the lawyers, whether the founders, the builders, we need to find ways to bring more people into our beautiful vision of the future, you know, to sort of meet them where they're at. And I think that's gonna go a really long way. You know, I think that, you know, at the end of the day, what we're doing is something that most people can agree with. You know, I'd like to believe that most people have a good heart at the end of the day, and most people want to hear more music, want to see more movies, want to see more artwork, want to see more, you know, digital pieces across the world that people are able to make and make so in an empowered manner. But it's going to take some time. You know, and I think that, you know, what's amazing is seeing projects like both of yours that are doing such hard work to build a foundation that then when we have to go into the rooms and negotiate, like with us when we negotiate with production companies and studios, we're able to say, hey, look, what we're building is flawless to a degree. It's not ever going to be perfect, but we know what we're doing. We have those legal pathways traced. We have ownership here. We have rights protected. So just work with us, because this is a better future, and we're excited for, you know, at the end of the day, I'm excited to work with, you know, Netflix and have some of our movies be on there, right? Or Royal.io is working with Chainsmokers, you know, and their record labels are happy to work with them, right? You know, it's that world where we're not saying, hey, you know, screw you, we're never gonna sort of work with the powers that be. It's saying, hey, walk with us to a better future, and realizing that it is gonna take time. Because while all of us, I think, are brilliant thinkers and we move quick, the industry is going to be a little slow, because they also have to realize, you know, that the future is coming. You know, we like to move fast and break things around here, right? You know, even in the artistic space, we do. We like to try a lot. It's in our blood. But very big companies that are used to operating as they have move very slow. And so I think that if we can just keep rising up together and supporting each other, that's what I love about Web3, is the support that we all feel for one another is incredible. And it really is. While we all have different platforms and we all have different missions on our own, together our mission is the same.
You know, and this kind of brings a funny topic a little bit, but we talk about community a lot in Web3. And we talk about community a lot in crypto and all of the world that we're kind of building in. But you can't really build a community if all that you're trying to do is sell things to people. You're building a customer base then, right? And something that I think that I've learned a lot from being in the music industry is that it's culture first. It's understanding that, like, what that art, what that thing that you're putting forth is representing and how people connect to that. Then, after inviting them in, then after having them be a part of the world, let's talk about maybe selling something to them or gifting them something for that matter. I think something that's really extremely exciting that when it comes to music and how people can then start talking about, man, I met so-and-so fan at so-and-so venue, at so-and-so city. Well, pull-ups are an incredible way to start that way, right? And we're not talking about NFTs then. We're just saying, hey, I'm going to gift you something. And this is just, hey, saying you were here with me experiencing this moment, right? right? And I think that in the next 4 minutes, I would love for you guys to talk a little bit about, it went by fast, over the last 4 minutes, to talk a little bit about what you guys think is going to happen in the next coming months. Because I don't think it's just audio NFTs. I don't think it's just, I'm going to buy an NFT and that's it. It is the collaboration, it is the access, but talk to us a little bit about that, what that is. Guy.
I definitely think, yeah, it is a lot about collaboration. I've seen a lot of really cool projects that are sort of like giving artists like a lot of control over like how they mint their NFTs and like not doing it in like a code basis, which is really, really cool. So I do think like seeing some tools coming out like that are like really accessible for artists and musicians to use are, yeah, it's like a really cool iteration. Yeah. That's my like.
I like it. Let's go.
When you say what's coming the next month in music,
just no, in
the
music
world?
and Web3
Okay.
and like kind of where you see the kind of evolution of the space, because we're really at the beginnings with this whole NFT Web3 music scene.
So again, gonna talk about something that you mentioned earlier, like everybody's a creator. I think that we can go, one of the ways we can transition out of the Web 2, you know, it's like, yes, we have to work with Spotify, et cetera, and the record labels, but one of the ways to transition out of that, I think, is potentially to empower people more to just casually think of themselves as able to make music without being a professional musician. So bridge that gap. And then, so I think that also happens via a social kind of component, which is very exciting to us. And I want to give a shout out to Lens Protocol, which I think is a very exciting project. With like very, very interesting ideas around how to decentralize social, and I think the right team to propel that. And so I think a big portion of what music is going to be is interactive, more like, you know, more accessible from the creator side, and just like bridging the gap between consumption and creation.
Austin.
The two words that come to mind is a phrase that we use with my team as we're building, but it's try courage, which is this idea that you have the courage to try something. And I think that we're going to see some big try courage in the world over the next 6 months. I'm a little biased because we have a slate of 10 films that are all A-list level talent that's going to launch in September. So I know we're going to make a splash in the world, but I also know that each of you with your projects is going to make a splash. I know my friends in other, you know, music and entertainment-based projects have a lot of amazing talent that we all know of that are about to try and say, hey, I believe you. You know, Web3's been around, right? But it's just getting to that point. I think we're getting up to that point where the world is saying, hey, yeah, maybe you're onto something, right? And so I'm really excited for all of us to step out more boldly, right? Like one of my buddies was at NFT NYC, and they were doing amazing parties with music artists who 2 years ago would have said NFT who, right? And now they're saying, yeah, I'm in. This is better. And I think that we're going to continue to see it sort of, you know, that upward trend faster and faster. And so I'm really excited. And maybe I'm just trying to manifest this into the world.
We are. We're all manifesting it.
Try courage, right? You know, let's try for that better future that we know is possible.
Well, guys, we have 50 seconds left. I really appreciate all you guys taking the time this morning to be with us and learning a little bit about what we're building, what we're doing in music. There's a lot to learn from these people right here. There's a lot to learn from all of you guys that are here today. Something I do want to make note of is that any of the speakers that you guys are enjoying at all throughout this last day, go up to them, say hi. They may have something here, a little speaker card that you should probably collect. It's just a piece of alpha, maybe, that you might want to do. But nonetheless, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so very much for being with us. Guys, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Talk to you soon.